Growing up, when I was in high school especially, my dad wanted to train me for cross country. My dad is someone, he is a very fit man, and he likes to see us all achieve good things. And so he thought it would be really fun and a bonding experience for me to train with him for cross country. But I'm someone who's quite stubborn. And so he would have to employ lots of different unique techniques to try and get me to run well. And I can remember this one training run in particular where he woke me up, which is normal. He's like, okay, Courtney, we're going for a run. And I was like, great. Where are we going? He's like, I'm not telling you. I was like, well, how far are we running? He's like, I'm not telling you. And I was like, so how fast am I meant to run? I'm not telling you. You'll work it out. I was like, are you joking me? Anyway, so I put on my running gear, whatever, and we started going for a run. And I kid you not, it was the worst run that I have ever done in my life. Because I am trying to run a race or run a track with absolutely no idea of where I'm heading, no idea of how far I'm meant to be running. So I had no idea what pace I needed to set. And I kept turning to Dad. I was like, Dad, how much longer? Like, what am I going the right speed? He's like, you'll work it out, just keep running. I was like, this sucks. And at one point I literally stopped and I was like, no, I'm not running anymore. I'm turning around and going home. This is the worst thing you've ever put me through in my life. Turns out he just wanted to take me for literally a quick 2-kilometer run. But in my head, I was like, this could be 10K. So I need to basically set a walking pace to be able to do this thing. And it was horrible. And the reason it was horrible is because I had no idea of where I was running towards. No idea of where I was running towards. And so therefore, I had no idea of kind of the direction that I needed to be headed. And the reason I start by sharing that in life view is because I think sometimes when we look at dating, we can kind of approach dating in a similar way. We live in a society that idolizes dating. Dating is talked about all the time. It's in TV shows, books, movies, the lot. It is idolized within our society. But who knows that the Bible doesn't actually have a lot to say about dating. It doesn't have a lot to say about dating. And so often then, I think it can be like we set out trying to run the race of dating with no idea of where we're heading towards because we don't actually know what it is that we're aiming for. And so it can be confusing and it can feel sometimes like we're trying to stab around in the dark to do something really well that isn't even really spoken about very often. Like where we need to be able to have an understanding of where we're running to be able to run our race well. We actually need to have an understanding of where we're running to run our race well. And so tonight, what we're actually going to do is I want to actually step in and be like, what is it that we're meant to be running towards? What is this that we're meant to be running towards so that we can actually begin to navigate dating with intentionality and wisdom? Because I do believe it is a gift from God. And so, because I like pragmatic, like I like things to be pragmatic and I like things to be simple. So tonight, we're literally just going to be looking at the problem and the solution. They're my 2 points, that's it. The problem and the solution, because that's nice for my brain. So, first of all, looking at the problem. One of the biggest problems and of the things that I've observed in dating, and especially in younger relationships, I'm talking youth and young adults, is that when we start dating people, it's not even as if we're running a race. We just stop running the race altogether. We're running a race before dating, we start dating, and suddenly the race ends. You know the kind of friends that you, I don't know whether, anyway, have you ever experienced the kind of friends that they get into relationships and suddenly they disappear? Like they ghost you. They're no longer available to talk to you, to message you, to hang out, like they're gone. All they can do is they do not, I can see people starting to look around at people. We're not going to look at people. But hopefully that means you know people. We can have these friendships or we can know these people that as soon as they enter into a relationship, they're just different. They no longer have time for you. They might start to talk differently. I'm glad you experienced this. Talk differently, act differently. Maybe their interests have started to change. Their clothing style might be a little bit differently. When you're hanging out with them, they can't do anything. Grade 11 boys, stop looking at me. Alex and Darcy. Yeah. these people that it's just like they're a completely different person as soon as they step into a relationship. And it's like over time, slowly but surely, their entire world revolves around the person that they're dating. You can't have a conversation without that person coming up, and it's frustrating. Maybe you've experienced a friendship like that, or maybe you've been that person. Maybe you've been that person. When this happens, when our world, or we see our friends' world, begin to revolve around the person that they are dating, starts to creep into two things: slight obsession and codependency. Now, I'm just going to highlight, I know that there are probably people in this room that when I say those two words, you're like, whoa, hold up, Courtney, no. They're big calls for what you've just described. I actually think it's a good thing that I want to be hanging around my boyfriend or girlfriend all the time, and that I just want to spend time with them. They're my best friend. No, Courtney, I'm actually just in the honeymoon stage, right? And it's actually a good thing for me to just have my world revolve around. It's going to pass, it's fine. And we say these things and we can make up excuses for behaviour that oftentimes really isn't very healthy at all, and oftentimes leaves us quite directionless when we're trying to run our race well. And I'm going to be blunt tonight because I am so passionate about this. Because too often I see people enter into relationships and become codependent on the other person and become almost obsessed with the other person to the point where they lose themselves in the relationship. And it just oftentimes leads to heartbreak. And I am so overseeing this happen. And so I'm going to speak quite plainly with you tonight because I want us as a youth ministry to be able to step in and walk out healthy relationships. Side note here. One of my biggest, and some of you will have heard me talk about this before, one of my biggest pet peeves, and one of my, I don't have many words, except I do, to describe how much I hate this phrase. Hands up if you've heard the phrase, "you're just my other half," or "my other half," or "you complete me." Okay, there's not that many people who've heard that. I'm sure there are many more people who've heard that. I'm going to explain to you why I hate this phrase. Absolutely hate it. I hate the idea that you need to find your other half because it suggests that you are a half. I hate it because it suggests that you are a half. And not only that, it suggests that you need to depend on another person to make you whole. It is unbiblical. It is actually not biblical to suggest that you need to find another half of a person to suddenly make you whole. You are not a half person. You are not in need of another person to complete you or to make you whole. You are a whole person, only made complete in Jesus Christ. And so we actually need to just stop saying this crap because it's not biblical. It makes me so angry because the underlying just thing underneath that kind of phrase is pushing towards codependency, and it's wrong. And so if you hear nothing else from me tonight, please hear this. You are not a half person in need of another half. You're just not. You are a whole person made complete in Jesus Christ. Please don't. That was the side note and rant. Because I think when we're talking around the idea of codependency, when we're talking around the idea of becoming slightly obsessed with another person, this is what I think it can look like. If you're looking for examples of what codependency and obsession can look like, this is what it is. When all you can think about is your relationship, or if you are not even yet in a relationship, obsession doesn't just happen to people who are currently dating. It can happen to people who are single. If all you can think about is your relationship or your desire to be in a relationship, it starts to creep into obsession. If all you can talk about is your relationship, the person you're dating, what you're doing, or your desire to be in a relationship, or your constant single status, if that's all you can talk about, probably stepping into obsession. And when all your time is spent with your boyfriend or girlfriend and you stop having time for things like reading your Bible, spending time with your family, spending time with your friends. Like just really plainly, if you look up and you see yourself starting to lose friendships or not be close to friends as much anymore because of the relationship that you're in, it's starting to lead into obsession. And when you think that your purpose, your happiness, and your identity is completely reliant on another person, that's when it starts to be leading into codependency. Relationships should not consume us. They shouldn't. I believe that we are created for relationship. I believe that relationship is a gift from God. We are created for relationship so much so that in Genesis 2 verse 18, God says it is not good for man to be alone. I believe we are created for a relationship. But that doesn't mean that our world should revolve around that relationship. Our world should not revolve around that relationship. It should not consume us, and it should not be something that we completely obsess over, because we are people outside of romantic relationships. It's actually not what should define us. It's not what should define us. And when we become tunnel visioned and so focused on relationships that it's all we can think, talk, act around, then I think we just need to stop, pause, and ask ourselves, hang on a minute, where am I actually running towards? What's my focus here? Where am I aiming for? Because I don't want us to miss out on what God has for us. I don't want us to miss out on what God has for us. Which then moves into the solution. And the solution, I think, has got to do with where we're running towards. In Hebrews 12, verse 1, it says this: "Therefore, since we are surrounded by such a great cloud of witnesses, let us throw off everything that hinders and the sin that so easily entangles, and let us run with perseverance the race marked out for us." Let us run with perseverance the race marked out for us. So often, I think some of you may have heard this analogy before. So often, I think what happens when we look at relationships, we're running, right? We're running our race, we're living our lives, and we are focused. We are focused on Jesus, we are living in purpose, we are living in calling. Because here's what I know to be true. Every single person in this room has a unique gifting and a unique calling that God has ordained for you to do. I 100% believe that. You have purpose. You have purpose. And you need to know that. And so what we can do is, when single, we can be running our race, and we're just going for it. And this is me running really fast. You can see I did really well across country. Anyway, so we're running. We are running our race, and we are running with perseverance, the race marked out for us. And we are running, and we are running, and we look up, and we see someone that's kind of just a little bit cute or a little bit attractive. And what we do then is we're running, oh, whoopah, we're going to run towards you. And we completely, well, I don't know what whoopah was. It's just anyway, we completely change the direction that we're headed. And instead of continuing to run the race that was marked out for us, we run towards the other person. Instead of running the race marked out for us, we run towards the other person. And I don't think that that's what dating is meant to look like. What I think it's actually meant to be is we are running purpose, direction towards Jesus. We're running, we're doing good things. And we're just living in our purpose. I don't know what this dance is. Anyway, we can go there. Anyway, so we're running, and we look up and we see someone that's just a little bit cute, or that we think we might like. And you know what we do? We put our head back down, we fix our gaze on Jesus, and we keep running. And we keep running. And then we look up, and we look over. Hey, they're still running. Hey, this is pretty cool. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to keep running, and I'm going to keep going. And we keep doing that. And I think over time, what then ends up happening is we can start to realize that we're actually running in a similar direction. We're running a similar race. We're running in purpose. We're running in calling, and we're running towards Jesus. And hey, this person might actually become a good teammate for this in this race. They are not the race. They are actually able to become part of the team that helps you run the race well. Helps you run the race well. Dating is not about making the other person your world. Dating is about finding a teammate to run the race well. Run the race well. And Brendan preached an incredible message last week, all around the idea of who are you becoming. And it hasn't yet been uploaded to YouTube, but it will be. So if you weren't yet here last week, please watch it because it was a phenomenal message. Dating should not take you away from the race that you are called to run. Dating should help you run it better. Dating should help you run it better. Dating should not distract you from the calling and the purpose or the pursuit of Jesus. The person that you're dating should actually encourage you in that. And not only that, you should encourage them in that. Is your potential being hindered because of the person you're dating? Is the potential of the person you're dating being hindered because they're dating you? Or you actually encouraging, championing one another to be able to see that race run well? We just need to switch what it is that we're doing. We need to switch our understanding of what it is to be dating. Tim Keller has this most beautiful quote. And it is around the idea of marriage, but I wanted to share it with you tonight because I think ultimately, to put it really bluntly, we either date to marry or to break up. You may have heard that before. But we either date to marry or break up. They are the two options, right? Like either the person you're dating will become your spouse or they will become your ex. It's just kind of the reality of the situation. And so I think, especially with the understanding, again, that Josh spoke really beautifully into around what the purpose of marriage is, that it's a reflection of the relationship that Christ has with his church. We need to actually talk about marriage for a little bit. Tim Keller has this beautiful quote that says this: within this Christian vision of marriage, here's what it means to fall in love. It means you have all these gooey feelings and you're just so overwhelmed with just love for the other person. No. It just means that all you want to do is spend all your time with them at every moment, and they're just the first person on your mind and the last person, like when you wake up, the last person you think about before you go to sleep. No. It means that you want to spend every second together. No. Here's what it is to fall in love. It is to look at another person and get a glimpse of what God is creating and to say, I see who God is making you, and it excites me. I want to be part of that. I want to partner with you and God in the journey you are taking to his throne. And when we get there, I will look at your magnificence and say, I always knew you could be like this. I got glimpses of it on earth, but now look at you. Now look at you. That is what it is to fall in love. To be able to see what God is doing in another person and say, I want to partner with that. Let's run this race together. And let's run this race with perseverance. Towards what? Towards who? Towards Jesus. Our purpose here in this life is to be in relationship with him, to know him and to make him known. And your individual assignment and calling in that is going to look different, but that is what it is. To love him with everything in us and to live out our calling here on earth, whatever that looks like. And we get to partner with other people in that to encourage and champion who God is calling them to be, and to be able to see ourselves be encouraged and championed to who God is calling us to be. God wants to use you powerfully. Each and every one of you powerfully. I believe that wholeheartedly. He wants to use you powerfully. And that should not change because you were dating someone. In fact, that should only be like, what's the word? Anyway, this. That's what it should be. It should be encouraged. The flame should be fanned because you were dating someone. Not dimmed, not put out. And if you're in a relationship right now, if you're single right now, and you find yourself stopping running your race, pausing running your race because of another person, can I encourage you to consider what it would look like to realign your values and your vision so that you can once again run the race marked out for you? I'm not saying you need to break up. I'm not saying, that's actually not at all what I'm saying. Because I think I have seen couples pivot and just continue to run the race well. But I think it's something we need to consider. It's something we need to consider. Because here's what I know to be true. Dating relationships are not actually promised to last. They're not. And too often I see couples who are just dating act like they're married. And what I mean by this is I see dating couples overcommit, make the other person completely almost feel as if there's ownership over the other person, and start to give parts of themselves away that were never designed to be given away in dating. And I'm not just talking about physical boundaries. I think that's part of it. But I'm not just talking about physical boundaries. I'm talking about emotional boundaries. I'm talking about spiritual boundaries. And I think so often we can overcommit to another person in dating. And ultimately, to put it really plainly, that person that you were dating until marriage is a brother or sister in Christ, and actually could be someone else's future spouse. And if we commit ourselves to someone before we actually have a ring on our finger, we can oftentimes end up being so hurt because we've given parts of ourselves away that were never designed to be given away. And we need to get better, New Life Youth, at putting in boundaries, physical, spiritual, and emotional boundaries, to be able to ensure that we still have fun, that we still are vulnerable, that we still run our race well, but that we honour and respect them and ourselves to ensure that we are setting ourselves up really well, to be able to continue running with intentionality. Can I just tell you, this is not something I have done well. It's just not at all. And there has been times in my life where I have gone through a breakup and I have had to sit down and have hard conversations with my friends and apologise to them that for the last however many months, years, I have pushed them away to be able to protect something that was never ever promised for me to last. There are times where I've had to get before Jesus and apologise to him that I completely forsook him, forsaken him, for however long it was that I was dating someone, that I began to pursue the person I was dating rather than continue to pursue him. There are times where I've had to rediscover who I was and rediscover who God was calling me to be, which, if you have ever been there, it's one of the most painful things to have to do. To have to go back to ground zero and be like, God, who the heck am I? Who the heck are you? Who have you created me to be? And how the heck am I meant to walk this out? It is painful. It is so painful. And you're like, I don't want you to have to walk that out for yourself. I don't want you to have to walk that out for yourself. We are called to run our race with perseverance. And relationships are a beautiful thing. They are fun. They're exciting. There's butterflies. It's great. There's emotions. It's awesome. But it shouldn't be at the sake of us being able to live out the calling that God has for us. It shouldn't be at the sake of the relationship that we have with Jesus. It shouldn't be at the sake of our relationship with our friends and with our family. I think we just need to reprioritize where we are running. And so tonight, that's my question. Where are you running? Where are you running towards? What's your goal? What's your aim? Are you running your race with perseverance? Or are you running towards someone or something else? I one day want to be able to get before Jesus and be able to say confidently what is written in 2 Timothy 4 verse 7, which says this: I have fought the good fight. I have finished the race and I have kept the faith. That's what I want to be said of me. And I pray that that's what you want to be said of you as well. So there's just 3 practical things, or 3 practical questions that I want us to be able to just stop and ponder for a moment. And so I just want you to close your eyes, and I'm just going to ask you a question. And I want you to just get honest before Jesus. The first question is this: how are you right now prioritizing your relationship with God, if at all? How are you prioritizing your relationship with God, if at all? Where are ways that you can prioritize that more? Where are ways that you can prioritize that more? Question number 2. Who are you allowing to speak into your life? Who is some wise counsel in your world that you are allowing to speak into your life right now? Some of my biggest blessings when it has come to relationships has been having people in my world outside of my relationship be able to speak with wisdom and just bluntness, honestly, into what they're seeing, what they're observing. Do you have people in your world that you have to be able to speak into that? That you allow to speak into that? Who are you allowing to speak into your life? And if not anyone, spoiler alert, Courtney. Question number 3. What friendships are you continuing to cultivate? If you're in a relationship, have you found yourself pushing away friends to continue the relationship that you're in? If you're single, have you found yourself pushing away friends to be close to or to be in proximity of the person that you like? We need to become a people once again that prioritize friendships. Because especially through the tumultuous seasons of dating, they're going to be the ones that stick it out with us. So what friendships are you cultivating? What friendships are you cultivating?